Neighbors, welcome to another deck log breakdown. Today we're going to be going a little bit further and talking more about the Shaman King expansion set that came out a couple weeks ago. There's still some decks that still need to be discussed because BCS season is underway, and some of these decks are possibly going to be ones that you're going to be needing to be looking out for. And one of the other archetypes that's being played to some success to some degree is Tao Ren from Shaman King. It's a pretty interesting archetype that focuses around clearing your opponent's board, establishing a huge amount of power, and being able to pressure your opponent by getting huge numbers on your Vanguard swings. It's sort of like Gravidia-ish, but also not so much. So that's kind of a weird thing about this archetype. But without further ado, let's get into the list. Alright, so we'll start here with first degree 3s. We have ourselves Unwavering Heart Tao Ren. This one is most likely going to be in your right deck, since the other Tao Ren we're going to be mentioning cannot be put in your right deck because it needs to be written from a grade 3 itself. Fortunately, that's how it works. Pretty sick. It does sort of work like a whole brick ride mechanic, which is very interesting as an archetype, to say the least. The whole deck focuses around gaining a bunch of persona rights, clearing your opponent's board by doing so, and also your Oversoul allows you to be able to get more additional effects in some of your Basson. You do have other cards that allow you to Soul Blast your Basson and put it into the drop zone, but we get that further by talking about these. So we have Tao Ren, Unwavering Heart. So Counterblast 1, put a rear guard with Basson and its card name in your soul. Retire all your opponent's front row. So sort of like Bavasagra, but you don't gain a crit for it. Instead, this gains plus 10k until end of turn. If you retired one less unit, then your opponent chooses a card from their hand or discard it. So it also punishes your opponent for not committing a full board because you're forcing him to guard. And if it's also later stages of the game, this can actually tack on a little bit, because then your opponent's going to try commit cards to the board to clear yours, but then there's sometimes your opponent's hand can be kind of awkward in Standard, especially to some decks that only run like maybe 5 grade 2s at a time, and those can get kind of awkward. Sometimes you can only have like Magnolia, for example, can attack from the back row, Magnolia Elder, and sometimes they don't lift too much rear guards up in the front row too often, so that can get this can get dicey. This can get very, very dangerous very quickly. And then when the Vanguard hits, you search your deck for up to one grade 3 or greater card, Tao Ren, and its card name, reveal it and put it into your hand. So on hit, allowing you to search for your Persona Ride is pretty juicy. You can choose to ride into the other one that we'll be mentioning in a second, but it being able to cycle its own Persona Rides is something very unique, because I think there's only like 1 or 2 or 3 couple cards in Will+dress right now in Dragon Empire and in Keter Sanctuary that allow you to search for your Persona Ride out of your deck straight up. So this is really sick to have it. Then when there is the Super Bushi Tao Ren. This card can only be written from a grade 3 Tao Ren in its card name, so can't be used in your right deck sadly. When this unit is placed on your Vanguard circle, search up to one grade 3 or greater card with Tao Ren, so if Shaman King as a collaboration set gets more support, this card can get kind of cool, right? Because if you happen to get a grade 4 Tao Ren, then we have Oversoul Effect, Act. Once per turn, put a rear with Basson in its card name and choose up to 3 of your opponent's rear guards and retire them. And this unit gets plus 10 for every 5 cards in your drop zone. And this can tend to tack on relatively high, actually, because especially the long pace of the game, you're soul blasting a lot, you're guarding a lot, but still being able to choose which your aggressive slants that you want to go for is really, really, really nice. Like, you could keep on searching for more copies of this and then go back into Unwavering Heart later, or you can keep on searching for Unwavering Heart and then go into Super Bunshin. But the fact of the matter is, being able to filter through your deck off of your grade 3s is kind of insane, because it allows you to see your triggers more reliably, and that's something that most archetypes out of the gate and out of the box don't have. So that's kind of insane. And it's one thing I also forgot to mention about the previous video was one of the other grade 3s for Yo Asakura that works sort of like this with an oversoul mechanic as well. So oversoul is that it requires you to soul charge a very specific name, and in this case it's Basson. So all your triggers, as much as you possibly can, is gonna be Bassont in name, because you'll have to commit some of them as boosters, and they're 6k boosters as triggers. Like, it's very unique. And now on to the grade 2s, which are gonna be your main aggressive angle of your deck. We have Law of the Jungle, Hora Hora here. When this unit attacks a grade 3 or greater, and you have a Tao Ren on your Vanguard or Joko on your Vanguard, so it also synergizes with the Joko archetype since they have their own grade 3s. Unfortunately, he's a little bit on the weaker side at the moment, sadly. This unit gets +5, so it's a 15k attacker with an 8k booster. It's hitting for 23. Your opponent needs to use 15k shield, which is kind of nice, to say the least. And during the battle that your Vanguard is attacked, he can intercept, or you can guard out of your hand, and it gets an additional plus 10k shield. So 15k shield is pretty difficult to come by at times, so having this to be as a good defensive options against your opponent's aggressive strategies attracts a lot of attention for your opponent trying to clear this first before they go in for lethal. And oftentimes that attack on your rear or investment from their resources is sometimes very heavy, especially going to later stages of the game for Will+dress. So this is a very good card to run. Suggest running it at 4. Then we have here Becoming the World's Top Comedian Joko. It's a card you're gonna in most of the Tao Ren Joko decks and Horo Horo decks, you'll tend to see this card a lot, because being able to search for a free booster is kind of insane, and you do have the soul to facilitate this. We talked about this before. You get to call this in the same column with your Jaguar Mick, and it becomes also a 23k attacker, because Jaguar Mick himself gets +5 or +2 as a booster, so that's really, really nice. Then we have here, when placed on rear, Wind of Laughter that will save the world, Joko. If you have a Vanguard or grade 3 or greater that is Tao Ren or Horo Horo, in its card name, Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, look at the top 5 of your deck and choose up to 1 unit with Tao Ren or Horo Horo in its name from among them. Put them into your hand and shuffle your deck. If you did not reveal, you countercharge 1. You basically Soul Blast 1 to look at the top 5, see if you find any of your Persona rides or any of your other Oversoul grade 3s, and then you can add them to your hand. That's so cool, right? It allows you to set up for later stages in the game. It's a 10k booster, it's 5k shield, 10k attacker and 5k shield. It is really, really good. Then we also have the Ride Line grade 2, nothing too special about him. If you're boosted with a rearguard Basson, and if it hits, you draw a card. It's a Vanguard skill only. Rearguard skill is +2k, but you only run one of this. This is in your Ride Line. You need this. It is a Tao Ren. And now on to the grade 1s. We have a warrior who serves the Tao family Basson. Your staple card, you have to run 4 copies of it. Its skill is amazing. When your grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Tao Ren in its card name is placed, if you do not have a unit with Basson in its card name, you may call this card to the rearguard circle. Whew, that's amazing. It's an amazing card. You can use it for some of your Soul Blast costs. You can use it for your Oversoul costs. It's a free booster, and it synergizes with the Riot Lines also a bit further. We get to that in a second. Then we have the Perfect Guards. Of course, you run these. You need these. Then you have Jaguar Mick, +2k or +5k, depending if you have a Joko or not. You're hitting usually for 23k, or in this case, maybe with Horo Horo, maybe 25k, because it gets 5 on its own, and it's a 10k booster. And then, when hatred towards the Tao family, Tao Ren. Vanguard Circle, when placed by riding from Tao Ren, search your deck up for 1 warrior who serves the family Basson and call it to background center and shuffle your deck. So you get a 16k column for free, you know, just it's existing. Discard 1, call 1, and you get to search for a card for free. That's so good. And even if it ends up getting cleared, right, and you ride into your grade 3 turn, you get it back, and you can use it for Oversoul cost. Or if it stays, you can use it for on-hit pressure, because it draws you a card. It's so good. It's so insanely good. And of course, for grade zeros, we're running the starter, and we're running with 4 copies of the sealed Ultra Senji for into soul crit plus 2k to a rear. And then of course, we're running all of the basalt triggers that we can handle here. I do think you want to run as many crits as possible in this archetype, because it gains a lot of power, but not a lot of crit pressure. So I could understand why you probably, I would suggest still running the 8, because especially if you're playing a best of 1 format, it does allow you to close out the game quicker. And then of course, the heal triggers, because you kind of need those. And then the overdress. Standard over trigger. You can choose to run the over trigger that is very unique to Shaman King, but I believe just your Vanguard gets huge, your rear guards get huger, especially with an OT, and it's very hard for your opponent to stave all that pressure off. But an OT, either OT is not in the wrong at all, because you can deal an extra point of damage to your opponent if you need that extra reach to close out a game, or you can retire your opponent's board. But Tao Ren kinda does that for you. I don't know if you'll have to be honest, but it gives you an option, and it's a 50k shield. You do happen to get a lot of shield from your Horohoros already, but that's entirely up to you. Like whichever overtrigger you want to run, that's entirely up to you. I just like the fact that when we got this decklog submission, and I found it interesting that we had this, because I was like, why wouldn't you want to play? But I can get it, because if you're running 8 crits and you're just forcing pressure every single turn and hitting for numbers, if you hit this in an OT, hit a crit in an OT, it oftentimes can close a game, or just hitting an OT by itself with a Shaman King support can oftentimes close out a game too. So this is up to you. This is entirely your decision how you want to run this. I like this a lot though. I get the logic in this. Well, with that being said, I would like to thank each and every last one of you awesome people for tuning on in and stopping on by. If I happen to miss something, or if I forgot something, mention in the comment section below. I hope to hear from you guys soon. Take care. Bye-bye.